All right, y'all. So Mike Todd has been in the news once again. What else is new when it comes to Christian news, right? Mike Todd always seems to be at the forefront of some Christian news cycle, right? And I usually stay away from talking about him or giving my opinion on something that he's doing or did, because everybody does that, right? And I respect the dude, and I have a lot of respect for him, even though I may disagree with some of his teachings. But the reason why he's in the news is for two things. One, he's in the news because he wore a bishop's collar, right? Or really, it don't look like a bishop's collar. It looked like it was a clergy collar, like the yoke. That is what they call it, a yoke. But I guess because it did not have, wasn't tucked in, they call that, I guess, the full white wraparound, a bishop collar, right? But the bishop is not even in the fivefold of ministry. A bishop is an overseer, right? Bishop is an overseer. I believe there's a scripture that talks about Jesus being the overseer of our souls, bishop of our souls, right? The overseer of our souls, right? So a bishop is just an overseer, right? A bishop is not in the fivefold ministry: pastors, teachers, prophets, evangelists, apostles, pastors, right? It's not in the fivefold. So a lot of people were up in arms the fact that he had a collar on, or a full white collar on, and saying that he's not a bishop. Who cares? Bishop collars were not even in the Bible. But that's beside the point. That's just a little salad before the main course, right? The main thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that Transformation Church, his church, actually held the funeral, or one of the celebrations of life, for Carlton Pearson, right? Those of you who do not know who Carlton Pearson is, Carlton Pearson was famed in the 90s. He had a huge ministry, had a huge church, right? I believe he was a part of the those Azusa revivals in the 90s, and starting that up in Tulsa. He went to Oral Roberts University, right? And he had came out in the 90s with the gospel of inclusion. How he believed that he didn't believe in the existence of hell, and they call it a quote unquote revelation of God's love, the heresy, all that good stuff. And he got casted out of the churches. He lost a lot of things, etc. Right? But funny twist, which I did not know, Mike Todd, that was Mike Todd's childhood pastor, right? That was Mike Todd's childhood pastor, one, and his mother sang with that ministry at those Azusa revivals, at those Azusa conference or Azusa revivals. His mother sang at those conferences, right? So Carlton Pearson was a part of his childhood. That was his childhood pastor, etc. Right? What I'm really bringing up is the fact that, okay, they were connected in that regard, right? And I believe he was also connected to Tim Ross and a bunch of other people, right? What I'm really bringing up is that Transformation Church actually held the celebration of life for him, right? So Transformation Church believes in the existence of hell. I've heard Mike Todd on plenty of occasions post and say, talking about robbing hell, right? Talking about robbing hell, like saving souls, and that equates to robbing hell, right? Him and Carlton Pearson have differing theological beliefs, right? But what I wanted to talk about was the fact that he held the celebration of life at his church. So now he put his church in the same conversation as Carlton Pearson, and it could confuse a lot of believers, and it confused a lot of people in the comments. They had to turn their comments off on one of their posts because people were up in arms and saying, "Yo, you're supporting him. He believed in hell. He was spewing that he didn't believe in hell, and he was spewing that message out to people, gospel of inclusion, all that good stuff." And people were up in arms. People were upset, right? And they had to question the church supporting him, right? Now, him as a man supporting Carlton Pearson, and him as a man, honoring him, Carlton Pearson, is one thing, right? Because that's just a man. He's a human being. Him even going to a celebration of life for Carlton Pearson, fine, dandy, cool. You're going, show support, cool. Like people have non-believer friends all the time, and they go to honor them at funerals all the time. So who cares, right? The big deal is he put his church in the mix of that, right? And I wanted to talk about the fact that how I don't believe that his church should have done that. And I believe that that was the wrong decision for his church, right? The reason being is because Carlton Pearson believes in the gospel of inclusion. He does not believe in hell, and that is not part of the traditional biblical worldview that we believe that there is eternal separation from God, that there is no gospel of inclusion, that you must accept and believe Jesus in order to be saved, etc. Right? To have a church that believes in that biblical worldview and preaches that biblical worldview, but then hold a celebration of life in support of an individual who does not, confuses new believers, and it puts a bad reputation and a bad mark on your church. You may say, Drew, how does this confuse new believers? Or how does this confuse believers? Because if you believe in the existence of hell and you don't preach a gospel of inclusion, but then you celebrate and honor publicly on your church's page and with the funeral at your church, honor a man who believed in something, in another gospel, who believed in a different gospel and did not change his stance, and you publicly honoring that, it could confuse your body and say, wait, does Mike Todd support or believe the gospel of inclusion? Wait, does Transformation believe that too? When Transformation could full all well say, no, we still believe in the traditional worldview, etc. But because our pastor has ties, or this ministry has ties to Carlton Pearson, we're doing this anyway. And it's just a bad look for the church. It's like you need to keep the church separate from those type of things, right? And it may be one of those things where it's like, okay, we're just trying to show love and we're trying to show honor, right? And he has a connection to this ministry, so boom, this is what we're gonna do. But it still could have a bad look in the end on Transformation Church, right? Now be on the lookout in the coming days and coming weeks and coming years of whether or not you see people start to drop off from that ministry because of the stance that they took in terms of celebrating his life and honoring his life with a funeral. Now, am I saying that, we shouldn't honor people's lives who believe differently than us, or that he's wrong for wanting to honor that man? No. My whole entire stance is relative to the church, right? Him as a human being, he can do whatever the heck he wants, right? I can do whatever the heck I want. If I had a non-believer friend or had a homie who believed differently than me, which I do have homies who believe differently than me, and something were happening to him, I'd still show up and support them on my main page. But if they were a prominent figure like Carlton Pearson was, who believed in what Carlton Pearson believed, I'd be very careful to attach my church's name to his name, because people can get the wrong idea, and you don't want to give the devil a foothold. You don't want to give the devil a foothold at all. And this, I believe, gives the devil a foothold into their ministry relative to confusing the minds of individuals on where they stand on the topic of hell. And he will probably have to do some explaining, but he may not. So let me know how you feel in the comments below. Do you feel like it was the right thing for Mike Todd Transformation to do, to hold a celebration of life for Carlton Pearson? Do you feel like Mike Todd should have just kept that on his page and shouldn't have said anything? Or do you feel like it's cool, churches should show love and they did the right thing by honoring Carlton Pearson because Mike Todd had a connection to him, or that Transformation Church had a connection to him? Let me know in the comments how you feel down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.